Next up, we are moving on to new media with a panel chaired by South China Morning Post. Who better to comment on new media than the likes of Netflix, Fox, TLV, and HOOQ? Please put your hands together. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, we're here to talk about the rise of new media, and we have today a panel of very distinguished gentlemen. Maybe I should just introduce them. On my left, from Netflix, MD for APAC, Yu-Chuang, Kuek.
Just call me Kuek.
Kuek, all right. And from HOOQ, the CEO, Peter Bithos.
Just call me Peter.
All right. I'm detecting a trend here. And we have from Fox Networks, Rohit De Silva, EVP and MD for Southeast Asia. And last but not least, Oded Vardi from TLV Media, which is an early stage investor in media and tech startups. So, well, I am from SCMP. I'm based in Hong Kong. I oversee the technology coverage. And in a lot of the coverage, we are seeing how media has changed tremendously. Perhaps I should just start with you, Kuek. For Netflix, in its expansion into Asia, how different is Asia, to your mind, compared with, say, in Europe or in the US when it comes to some of the strategies that you take to acquire subscribers?
Yeah, I guess as a company, we took a very interesting route. It was at CES in 2016 where we launched in 130 markets on the same day. And it was really then when most of our Asian markets were accessible to us. And so I think the luxury of having done something like that is that you can put your product out there and then get learnings from us, from the markets directly. I think probably the biggest learning for us so far is how important local content is. I think, you know, there is great content that will travel across borders. We see that a lot. But over the time that we've been here, we've seen how powerful local storytelling can be. And so you'll see increased investments in the region. So if you look at Singapore, from documentaries like Shirkers to looking at India, working with Shah Rukh Khan's team, or investing in original productions like Sacred Games, or recently in Thailand, working with GMM Grammy to get 700 hours of their content on the catalog. I think one of the first key learnings is how important it is to make sure we understand local tastes.
What is the split between local and kind of like a global content right now?
The catalog changes every day. I mean, like, things come up and down, so I'd be hard-pressed to give you a number. Suffice to say that this is enough of a lesson to us for us to really get serious in understanding local taste and making sure that we are doing the right things to cater to that demand.
HOOQ is called Southeast Asia Its Home. Are there any lessons that you can offer us? Do you also see local content as...
Absolutely. We started on the other end of the spectrum, though. So as a startup in the region, we kind of came into the game knowing that the mix of local and Hollywood was important from day one. And so when we got started, we started quite deliberately with the largest local catalog in any country we kind of operate in Southeast Asia. And we echo that key learning. Over pretty consistently between 50 and 60% of our viewing minutes is geared towards local. And that's across Southeast Asia. It's pretty consistent, sometimes 50, sometimes 60, depending on the movie and the TV show that's hot at the moment.
Are there any differences between how perhaps someone in Thailand consumes media differently compared to, say, someone in Singapore or Vietnam or Indonesia?
Yeah, there's heaps of differences as you go from region to region. Is like I try and tell my team, there's really no such thing as Southeast Asia. So we're in Philippines, we're in Thailand, we're in Singapore, we're in Indonesia, where we're the market leader, and we have to have 4 different strategies, and that's different content strategies. You have different distribution partners. You have different preferences in the way localization is done from the end consumer. You have different content tastes. So you really do, to actually make it work at scale, you do have to have a core backbone of product and tech and core content that might be similar. But if you don't figure out a way to satisfy the taste of Thailand distinctly from the Philippines or Indonesia, you won't win.
I'll come back to distribution in a bit, but Rohit, I want to ask you, how has Fox Networks changed its strategy to distribute content, whether it's drama to sports, to the changing consumer habits in Asia?
Right. At Fox, I think one of the key principles we followed is that we want to create and distribute content that cuts through and is premium. So we have been in the region for close to 30 years now. Some of the things that we've done in the last 4 or 5 years, we've been spending a lot of time working with new distribution platforms. So we started 3 years ago working in Japan with AVEX and Hulu. So not only do they carry some of our linear channels, but they also distribute content for us. All right? In Southeast Asia, and I completely echo Peter's point, I think no one gives you there's no passport which says Asia or Southeast Asia. It's market by market, right? And I think in solving for the problem, for the opportunities, one of the key things that we've looked at closely is what is the actual size of the addressable market for the product that we're trying to cater to, all right? And the second point is how can we create and go to market with a product which is different and has some so we launched an internet streaming service, Fox Plus, last year, right? And we're only in we've 2 countries, Taiwan and Philippines, and we've soft launched in Singapore and Hong Kong. When we came up with this product, we said, look, we've got sports, we've got drama, we've got movies, and we've got Chinese content. What can we do what is different and creates a new proposition? So we put all the content together, and it's working really well for us. And in the Hollywood drama, what we realized is we need to provide something different than Peter provides or what Kuek provides. So we said we have a whole bunch of originals which Fox produces, a big slate, and we license from others as well. We want to make sure that these top-notch dramas which go on US networks on the same day, we are able to provide them on our streaming service, which is not available, and then therefore that content is not available elsewhere. In terms of consumption, I mean, it was a big debate on whether we should include sports in our service or make it a separate offering, right? And I was on the side of including it. We've realized that sport is we knew sports is powerful, but on a streaming platform, it does provide these consumption spikes, where at the end of the day, you're trying to drive more users to the service and also increase the watch time. It's been an extremely powerful tool for us. And then the third thing we're doing is, for Chinese, we've been producing and co-producing Chinese movies for a long time. Last week in Hong Kong, where you're based, we announced the launch of going to air of Trading Floor, which is a 5-part series produced in partnership with Andy Lau and with Tencent. So I think the focus is key, premium content. Look at where the addressable market is. If you're offering a product, make sure it is a differentiated service compared to what else is out there.
Oded, you put money into startups. So this is a question for you. What are you seeing as the newest ideas that are coming out of the media space?
Well, wow, I wouldn't know where to start because there is so much going on. We see now more enabling technologies that can power the distribution and syndication of content. We see a lot of innovation and new forms of content. We see a lot of tools. Of course, you know, everybody knows the keywords, VR, 360, AI. We still don't know how it will all pin out, but I think maybe what I'm most interested in is not necessarily the technology per se or the content per se, but more the experience. Because we are looking now for many new experiences. Watching a sports broadcasting on Fox is very different than, let's say, watching something on the mobile phone from HOOQ, or even watching your Netflix app on the iPad when you're flying. Sometimes it's long content, short content, sometimes it's laid back, sometimes it's just a few minutes between the two. So nobody knows what the future will be, right? We're not prophets, and it's not like physics or math that one thing was discovered and then another layer on top of it that we kind of knew where the direction is going. Here, there's a lot of room for ideas and innovation, and the reality is, even after doing this for 20 years, when I see an idea, I will not know if it's good or not. In a good day, I will know, maybe I will recognize a very bad idea. So the key is to find really technical or talented people, either in the technology or the creativity and so on, and people who know to get stuff done. The idea will change 10 times along the way when we invest so early. So it's more important to see people who can adjust and adapt to the market rather than people who have the idea and they will know what will happen, because things are changing and pace of changes is faster than ever.
I second that. I think you know, there's on any type of streaming service or any type of media service, there is so much more room for innovation. So on streaming services, we've seen a lot of it being driven by on-demand, but we are seeing in many markets that the streaming services with live content is picking up. So you could see, I think it's all about converged experiences where you can provide a consumer, maybe he's watching a football match, at the same time he can play a game with friends. There's augmented reality, VR embedded into the whole experience. And that whole consumer experience can be taken to a completely new level. The challenge is the pace of change. No matter how hard we try to keep pace with it, it just kind of keeps outpacing us. And therefore, learning agility to be able to imbibe that in an organization, and even as an individual who's part of a team and an organization, is one of the things which is a challenge, but also a big opportunity. Because people who are able to do that well will be ones who are kind of developing new products and being successful.
I want to take you on a theme about live streaming and a lot of the social aspects of viewing content now. So one of the emerging trends that I've noticed in our reporting is that a lot of that user-generated content is becoming very popular. Obviously, that is not the main bread and butter for a Netflix or a HOOQ. How are you kind of positioning your companies to meet this growing trend and popularity of user-generated content, whether it's through short video apps like TikTok or Kuek, which are becoming very popular?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a first stab. Firstly, I think it is a misnomer that user-generated content is actually driving most of the views. When you do the analytics on YouTube and you do the general analytics in Southeast Asia, yes, it's the YouTube and free videos that's driving it, but when you dig into the data, what we find, it's semi-professionally created, right? So it is people that do this for their full time. Now, maybe they're not managed in a professional way, or maybe they're not part of a larger company, Fox or Disney or whatever, but they do this for a living. It is not your cat video. It is not your just random toddler. It's a blogger who loves travel in the Philippines. It's a chef in Indonesia who loves cooking. And I think that style of content, as the ecosystem develops, that style of content will find a home beyond just YouTube. We're experimenting with live streaming today. Today in Indonesia, you can watch free-to-air television on HOOQ for free, 24/7. We're experimenting with short form, and we think short form plays a very important role. 90% of our viewing events are on the mobile phone. And as you pointed out, when you're on the mobile phone, sometimes you don't want a 2-hour movie. So I think the style of content that you're seeing in Southeast Asia is going to professionalize, but I think the role of short form and I'll just call it more YouTube style, not user-generated style, is going to see cutting across multiple platforms.
And I just want to add that this really corresponds with what we said before. It's really about talent, because all these major successful companies we have here on my right side, they all now have the tools to really identify, and as well as startups, to identify what's good. I mean, today, it's not that Fox will always launch a show at 8 p.m. on Mondays. Today, they have all the services. They can go and test it on Hulu and have very accurate data on what people are doing. Netflix made it into an art, and I assume HOOQ is also built on that foundation. So data is key. Now, when you take it to UGC, I'm on an advisory board in a company called 90min, which is the largest UGC platform and actually the largest online platform for football-related content. And it started, people are very passionate about football, and people will write. Now today, somebody at home could be very talented. He didn't go to journalism school. He doesn't know anybody in the press. He sits somewhere in a peripheral area. He has a computer. If he has talent, it will surface. So of course, not everybody has talent, but the talented ones, if you know how to spot them and identify, that could be an entry to the career to them. And for 90min, if you out of that you funnel the good content, you can also syndicate it to other type of companies. So today, talent can float, and I think the challenge is of the startups is to take this talent and bring it to the world, and maybe the other companies to build it.
I think from our company's perspective, the market has shown us that there is an appetite for different services. UGC is a great business. We have, a lot of very successful companies built on top of UGC. For us, it really is that we have found this niche, and to hunker down and just execute the hell out of it. I mean, you see a lot of exciting companies just outside this door, and there are many decisions to make as they're running the business as well. There are decisions to make on what are the activities you will do, but there are also decisions to make on what activities you won't do, so that you can focus on your core strengths and you can just, as I said, execute the hell out of it. UGC is a great business. We're not necessarily in that business. That means that I don't deal with fake news. I don't deal with content that might be inappropriate. That there are a lot of headaches that we as a team don't have to think about. We have no advertising. So, if you have identified a consumer need and that consumer need is proven that it can be monetized, just go out there and execute.
Yeah. Talking and adding to what Kuek said, I mean, as a company, we launched, just to share an experience, we launched a National Geographic app in Australia last year. The first time anywhere in the world, we combined 65,000 photographs, art editorial, long-form video, and short-form video. And within that framework, we did a lot of activities where people could post their pictures. All right? In terms of the watch time on the app, no surprises. The content that is most accessed on the app, no surprises, it's the photographs, right? The time spent on the app is very different from what we have on a streaming service like Peter's service, HOOQ or my Fox Plus, but it's different. So even if you're not we're not deep in the UGC business, there are avenues in the framework of whatever brands you have and in the framework whatever services you create, where you can go and tap, as to what Oded said, this talent that's out there that has this expertise, whether it is football or photography or whale watching or anything, and bring that into an environment. So there's still, it depends on what, but focus is key. We got to be good at what we do. Therefore, we've chosen to focus on a few things and kind of leave certain areas to others.
Okay, we're running out of time, so there's probably time for one more point. So it's said that the younger generation, the digital native post-millennials, everything is social for them. So even when they want to watch a video, I think you touched on that a little bit, they might want to share their experience, they want to interact with others on social. So very quickly, maybe can each of you say, do you foresee social as becoming more important and part of the business offerings that you have?
I look young, but I'm actually not that young. I replied the message and I said cool, and I was told don't use the word cool, use the word lit. So I'm really not the best at predicting this thing. I would say that you're starting off with a lot of unknowns. The important thing is to just keep listening and keep listening and keep listening to the market. When we came in, there was very little we knew. We did our own research, and some of the research, frankly, surprises us. We realized that 72% of Indonesians would turn away from piracy if they're legitimate sources to get their content. We learned that 82% of Indians actually wanted the safety features on our product and found it useful. And so when you keep listening, you get data points that you didn't previously have. Then, whether you transcend this generation or the next generation, I think that listening skill is something that you just have to have always turned on.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us will have aspects of social in our business. It's part of life now.
Yep.
But with respect to streaming specifically and the core streaming experience, I actually think the role of social you'll see play out on platforms or offerings where live events are a very important part of the offering. Social when I'm binging on my own time, it's my choice, my content at that moment, and no one else might be watching that, or very few people might be watching at that moment. It's very different than IPL, say, on Hotstar in India, right? So when you have live sports, or when you have live events, that becomes something to talk about right now. And I do think, like you see in Hotstar in India, the features, the interactions, the way streaming has happened, integrated with games, integrated with chat, integrated with posts, will happen very soon.
And on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.